thank you. Welcome to everybody. And what we'll move forward is we'll just go ahead and go over a quick overview on the course. As I mentioned, there are going to be, there's modules 0 through 9. The one we're going through right now, just housekeeping, introduction to the course schedule, etc. There'll be a little more of an introduction that we'll give in the next module, gain insight into the continuous monitoring program and so forth. Module 2, we'll talk about risk and continuous monitoring. As I mentioned, risk obviously is a very important factor that we'll be talking about. We'll talk in Module 3 about identifying mission critical systems, mission essential systems, and mission essential functions and so forth. Then Module 4 at the end of the morning we'll go into the system authorization accreditation as part of the continuous monitoring process, right? This is, we know we currently have a process that we go through for ATOs as we roll into a continuous monitoring environment. That's going to change somewhat from my perspective in a very positive way, because I think there's a significant, ultimately a significant reduction in work, certainly a significant reduction in high pressure work in a very short period of time, which is what we're basically doing now with getting ATOs done. So we load it all into basically a couple of months, try to do everything we can, and what we found in general, and I know this is government-wide, it's not only at HUD, but ultimately it's rare that if you do that and you try to cram all your security evaluation into a couple of months, that you're actually ready for a full ATO when you get there, and you're generally granted some sort of limited ATO. I know in HUD they don't even allow interim ATOs, but normally it's limited based on completing some POAMs or addressing some sort of specific vulnerability within a certain time frame, that kind of stuff. Purpose of the, ultimately with the continuous monitoring program, all this work is essentially spread out over the period of the ATO. So ultimately by the time you get ready for a new ATO or renewal of the ATO, your control should already have been addressed. You've been addressing POAMs as you go all the way through. You should be able to present a pretty clean security assessment reports and ATO package to your authorizing official with sufficient information for them to feel comfortable that they can accept the risk and move forward. A full ATO as opposed to limited and so forth, and the pressures you have to deal with on that. Module 5 is again the minimum security inventory. We're going to talk about this. Inventory is absolutely critical. Understanding, knowing what your assets are. If you're familiar with the cybersecurity framework, there are 5 core functions. The first two functions are identify and protect. Okay, you cannot protect your assets unless you identify them first. So you have to identify your assets. So inventory is an extremely critical part of this process. Then in Module 6, we'll talk about the system level continuous monitoring process. Module 7, we'll talk about CSAM. And I know some people mentioned CSAM in here. The question I asked Jim was about the CSAM version 4.0 demo that they did yesterday. And I'm not sure if any of you had an opportunity to look at that, but basically DOJ is coming out, was releasing CSAM 4.0. As I understand, the interface is somewhat changed, much more intuitive, probably easier to work with than the one that they had before. So definitely some positives coming in. Just to talk just briefly about CSAM is, HUD has a really good working relationship with the DOJ CSAM folks. And part of what we're doing with the development of the dashboard is we have to collect metrics that are ultimately going to tell us where we stand within those process areas. A lot of those metrics come out of CSAM. And so we've also working very closely with DOJ in order to get certain reports developed so that we can extract the data as we needed. Ultimately, which is going to be great, is the plan is, as part of 4.0, is they're going to allow actual API integration with CSAM, which has not been possible up until now, which means we'll actually be able to extract data directly from CSAM without having to create reports and pull the data off of reports as we're doing right now. But we'll talk more about that, the CSAM process as well. Again, it's absolutely critical here within HUD that CSAM is populated correctly with the right information, especially as we roll into the continuous monitoring process. That'll help you manage that whole process throughout the period of the ATO. We're going to talk about the program elements within continuous monitoring in 8. And then in the final module, we'll talk about the train the trainer part. It's a relatively short module, just giving some tips on what you might be able to do to, to give the training to the people that you need to end up training, which is pretty interesting coming from me, considering I'm not a trainer, but that's okay.